Everyone desires to be wealthy, to make a lot of money, and to be ranked among the world's wealthiest individuals. Money does not make you rich in the long run, and the crown of gold will not cover the void in your heart. But people all over the world will remember you if you are rich. I'll bet you're thinking of people like Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and others who are possibly the richest Americans today. They aren't even in the same league as some of the people in this list. These are the people that ruled the world, owned continents, or altered the course of history, and every one of them may teach us something. We're just going to look at the top 10 richest persons in history. Mansa Musa, 1280 to 1337, incalculable wealth. Mansa Musa, who headed the Malian Empire from 1280 to 1337, is regarded as the richest man in history. Indeed, he understood how to make Timbuktu and expand his dominion to Niger, and so to the most significant trans-Saharan commerce routes. He reigned from 1280 to 1337 and is regarded as Timbuktu's monarch due to his effect on the city's economy and culture. He also controlled the Bambouk gold mines, which produce more than half of the world's supply today. Its region supplied half of the world's gold reserves. As a result, it is not surprising that his fortune cannot be represented in dollars, euros, or any other sum of currency. He has the number one position as the ruler of the primary empire producing gold and salt, accounting for more than half of the total quantity in existence. Augustus Caesar, 63 BC to 14 AD, $4.6 trillion. After the death of his father Julius Caesar, he was one of the most effective commanders in Rome's transition from a republic to an empire. He is credited with establishing the Pax Romana and seizing control of the kingdom that accounted for 25 to 30% of the world's GDP at the time. Furthermore, he may amass a personal fortune of roughly $4.6 trillion. Akbar the First, 1542 to 1605, unmeasurable wealth. Akbar the First, often known as Akbar the Great, was the third Mughal emperor of India, reigning from 1556 to 1605. His territory was about the size of the modern-day India, and he accounted for 25% of global GDP. The Mansabdar system was utilized by the Mughals, that is, regions over which an officer is appointed in order to generate revenue from the property. The emperor may request warriors in exchange for this money, depending on the size of the empire. Because these commanders were not picked hereditarily, Akbar had a lot of leeway. The empire, which reigned over 15 provinces, was immensely advantageous to the emperor in terms of collecting taxes, which added to his wealth. Andrew Carnegie, 1835 to 1919, $372 billion. Andrew Carnegie, a Scottish-American industrialist and philanthropist who died in 1919, amassed a fortune in the 19th century. Andrew Carnegie left the oil industry to Rockefeller and concentrated his efforts on the steel industry through the Carnegie Steel Company. At the time, his fortune was reported to be $372 billion. With this fortune, he funded the construction of approximately 1,600 public libraries throughout the United States. In his opinion, it was critical to invest in information, and he contributed tens of millions of dollars to American education. Andrew spent the last few years of his life as a philanthropist, donating 90% of his income to charities, colleges, and other organizations before his death. John D Rockefeller, 1839 to 1937, $341 billion. Throughout the 20th century, this well-known billionaire and oil tycoon John Davison Rockefeller controlled 90% of the flow of black gold. He passed away in 1937 at the age of 97. The Standard Oil firm, the largest oil company in the United States, is founded. During that period, he controlled 90% of the oil. The business was split into 34 minor firms. ExxonMobil, Chevron, and BP are still among them. John D. Rockefeller was also the first person to raise $1 billion. When converted, his fortune is worth around $341 billion. Nikolay Alexandrovich Romanov, 1868 to 1918, $300 billion. Nicholas II, the last Emperor of Russia, King of Poland, and the Grand Duke of Finland, is also known as Nikolay Alexandrovich Romanov. He governed the Russian Empire from 1894 to 1917, when he and his family were deposed and killed by Bolshevik revolutionaries. Tsar Nicholas II's net wealth in 1916 was about $900 million, which, when adjusted for inflation, equated to $300 billion in 2012. At $300 billion, he is the sixth richest person in history, and since the Russian Orthodox Church canonized him, he has also become the richest saint in history. Mir Osman Ali Khan, 1886 to 1967, $230 billion. Mir Osman Ali Khan reported had 50 Rolls Royces and kept the diamond in his office as a paperweight. He is also referred to as the Nizam of Hyderabad. He was one of the 7 Nizams who governed Hyderabad until it was overrun by neighboring India. He possessed a personal gold collection worth over $100 million and a jewelry collection worth over $400 million, including the famed Jacob diamond, which is now worth $95 million. He also had his own public currency, the Hyderabad rupee, as well as a great private fortune, and his photograph appeared on the cover of Time magazine in 1937. His net worth is reported to be about $230 billion, making him the richest man in Indian history. William the Conqueror, 1027 to 1087, $229.5 billion. William the Conqueror lived in 1028 to 1087 and was famous for invading and conquering England, taking territory and riches from Sussex to Yorkshire, and besting Earl Harold Godwinson at the Battle of Hastings in 1066, where he became King William I. But it didn't stop there. The more empires he conquered, the more wealth he acquired. And that's what he did his entire life. When he died, he passed down his children the equivalent of $229.5 billion. Muammar Gaddafi, 1942 to 2011, $200 billion. After being deposed and executed by rebels in 2011, the former Libyan colonel and tyrant astonished the world. Gaddafi's personal fortune was reported to be approximately $200 billion at the time of his death in various banks across the world and in oil interests in the nation. The dictator's Airbus A340M costs roughly $100 million, while the 333-meter cruise liner Phoenicia was purchased in 2012 for $697 million by the Italian business Mediterranean Shipping Company. Henry Ford, 1863 to 1947, $199 billion. Henry Ford, the famed American businessman and creator of the Ford Motor Company, dictated a vision that revolutionized the history of industrialization. He introduced the Ford T, one of the first automobiles with a gasoline engine, which went on to sell 16 million units. He introduced the world to the Fordism concept, which entails manufacturing big numbers at a low cost via an assembly line. In life, he became one of the wealthiest men in the world, and we only see his legacy now because he donated his money to the Ford Foundation. His fortune is believed to be around $199 billion. I hope you enjoyed our list of the top richest individuals in history and got an insight into how they made their fortunes. This is Luxury Secrets. Like and subscribe. See you in our next video.